Hey gang, today I'm here with Mike, the CEO and founder of Spacer. Mike, how are you?
Good, thanks.
It's good.
How are you, Jen?
Good, thank you. Who the hell are you?
Serious. Well, today...
Yeah, who are you today is probably a better question.
So I'm one of the founders of Spacer, online marketplace for storage and parking. We've been around for just under 3 years now.
Nice.
Really enjoying the journey.
Yep.
I guess prior to that, I was in e-commerce for over a decade. So one of the co-founders of DealsDirect, one of the early pioneering online department stores.
That's insane.
That's why I got my hair left. Don't go into e-commerce.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how did you end up in that? Like, what sort of things did you do over a whole decade? You would have touched a lot of different things.
I can't really remember. No.
Blocking it out.
But we bootstrapped that business from 0 to about 100 mil. Got a bit of investment later on. Had a really good business partner in that, Paul Greenberg, who's now head of Nora Network.
Yes.
You might have come across him. Definitely worth interviewing.
Yeah.
If you haven't already.
Watch out, we're coming for you.
Started off as a techie, self-taught techie. Uni dropouts, pretty typical sort of
runners on, yes.
Typical entrepreneur sort of story, and just sort of learning by doing. So moved across to the sort of marketing side and I guess business side of the business over that decade, and still love
awesome.
Being in tech and being around tech people and the startup community.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what drove you to start that initial idea for Spacer? Sorry,
sure. So after exited DealsDirect, we sold to Graze Online about 4 years ago now, I guess. I took a bit of a sabbatical, went to Silicon Valley. My wife was kind enough to let me go on a couple of trips, and went and did the rounds, met with a bunch of entrepreneurs over there. Went to some conferences like TechCrunch Disrupt in New York, which is great. If anyone ever gets the opportunity to go, I highly recommend it. Very high tech, really cool, really inspiring. Lots of sort of astronauts from Russia, and really stuff I couldn't understand, but I was like in awe. But on a serious note, lots of really cool ideas.
That's awesome.
And people. And I went over there with thinking that I wanted to come back with an idea that I could implement in Australia. So something that was already sort of happening. And specifically in the sharing economy. The sharing economy really just made sense to me. That there's all these underutilized assets sitting idle all around us. And why not sort of use technology to enable people to access them? So I was just looking for which vertical. I had a few in mind before I went, and that changed as I traveled and chatted to people and saw what else was out there. And whilst I know storage is kind of unsexy, I thought it was a real need. And that's what I landed on.
Definitely. And how did you, I guess, from the whole, storage is the path I'm going to test out, what were the first steps that you took to really try that?
So apart from I guess the idea of resonating with me and having some experience with, I didn't have this real personal experience with some people say, I had a child and I knew that there was all these issues. I just had a little baby, that's why I got tagged on the But, so I know there's a need for nappy delivery because we don't have time to go to the shops. Well, I didn't have that exact personal experience, but I knew from my experience at DealsDirect in the early days, we didn't have a warehouse and we used some self-storage. I knew how expensive it was. I knew how difficult it is to access sometimes. And so, there was a few bells sort of ringing. I could also sort of see the macroeconomics of, real estate becoming very expensive, people moving to smaller living spaces, but still wanting to have things around them. We live in a great country.
It's an interesting one.
We live in a great country where, there's lots of outdoors things to do, so people want to have their toys around them, the things that they use outside, their bikes, their golf clubs, their boat, their jet ski, whatever it is, kayak, etc. So I was just putting a few of these threads together. I thought, it sort of made sense. Now let's do the research. So I came back to Australia. I met my business partner, Roland Tam. We did some research. So we sized up the market, looked at an IBIS report, did a lot of Googling, spoke to people. We sort of thought, there's something here.
That's
Let's have a go.
Definitely. Perfect. And what did you guys just whack up a landing page to try and get people to start signing up, or did you go further and develop a pretty robust MVP, or what was
Yeah,
step
so
one?
we use the software as a service marketplace to get started. We use a system called Near Me, which I highly recommend to anyone who's in the marketplace space.
Yep.
It's a great system. Shout out to Adam Broadway, the CEO over there in Silicon Valley. He's an Aussie guy.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He sold his last business to Adobe, so he's the real deal.
Yeah.
And a great guy.
Yep.
So that got us sort of speed to market. Of course, none of these things are exactly plug and play.
Of course not.
They still take quite a bit of midnight oil to get them running. But
massaging to fit.
But that was a great way to get started.
That's awesome. And so can you explain actually the business model behind Spacer?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
so essentially it's very similar to the Airbnb model, where people who have a spare garage or a spare car space or any type of storage in and around their home can list it on the site. It's free to list, and they can make it available to others in their local neighborhood who need more space.
Great.
Don't we all?
Yeah, definitely. So then how fast is the model or the marketplace growing then? Where is it at?
It's growing really quickly. As you probably know, speaking to lots of marketplace founders, it's really hard to get these things off the ground.
Yes.
The old chicken and egg thing. And so the first year, we felt like we were moving quickly, but in hindsight, geez, it was slow. And so we're sort of approaching about 2.5 years since launch.
That's great.
And things are going really well now, but a lot of hard work from the team. We're a team of 20 now, believe it or not.
Yep.
We have had significant sort of funding, and I don't think we could have done it without quite a lot of time and quite a lot of investment, and an amazing team, of course.
That's great. And what was that process to then raise? What did you present? Who did you target?
Yeah, so we backed ourselves. We put some of our own money in, which I think is always a good sign of faith. Show of faith. We were fortunate enough to have a really strong network from previous businesses that we've sort of been involved in, and then we sort of went out to market. And I guess as any founder will tell you, it's not easy to raise money in Australia, particularly with off a PowerPoint.
Yes.
I think we've brought on board some fantastic investors, mainly sort of angels and some strategics, and they've been really supportive and helped us along our journey.
That's great. And at what point did you decide it was time to go raise?
So we took a pretty unorthodox approach.
Yep.
I guess because I've been around the block a few times, I thought, well, we're going to do this. Let's give this a real crack. Yep. So we launched. We raised money before we launched.
Great. Yeah.
And as I said, we put our money where our mouth was. So we put our own money as well.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily recommend going down that path for all founders, but for us, that was the right decision.
That's great. And so from taking on that investment, you guys also made an acquisition. What made you decide to do that? What was that part of the deal going into getting investment? How did you approach that?
Yeah, so from day one, we wanted to be the marketplace, or the place for space, as we call it now.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've got it in sight.
And so, yes, we started in storage. Sort of quickly evolved into parking. Our customers told us that, through their transactions, that they were using, garage or for parking as well as storage. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
And we have a pretty big aspirational vision to be that place for space.
Yep.
Now, some of that's going to happen organically. Some of that is going to be through acquisition.
Yep.
We sort of formed a friendship with the guys at Parkhound. They've done a really good job, very early to market, and it was just right place, right time for both of us.
Yeah.
And we've done a deal, so it was great.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. And what's the sort of the first day look like after you've done that deal, trying to merge a company to then first month, 6 months?
Yeah, so
it's a tough challenge.
Roland and I, we had some experience. We both acquired other businesses in our previous lives, so lots of learnings of what not to do. So the first thing we did was really just, obviously we did our due diligence over many months, but there's no better due diligence than understanding that business. Once you're actually living and breathing it, right?
Yes, definitely.
So the first few months, literally, we just sort of got to understand the business, got to know the team, and got to understand what made it tick.
Yeah.
Before we made too many changes.
That's good.
So that was the first thing.
Yeah. Awesome. And where's the business heading? Do you want to go international? Do you want to make it a really good Australian business? What's the vision?
Yeah, we made a small acquisition in the US. I don't know if you read about that.
Awesome.
We bought Roost very early on, maybe a little too early. But no, it's been really good. We've had lots of cross learnings across the two markets, and that business is going quite nicely. Still very early days.
And what does Roost do? Is that for space or car spaces or both?
Yeah, it's both.
That's
so we rebranded it, spacer.com in the US.
Yeah.
And we have a small presence over there, and growing that business.
Yeah, at the same time. Fantastic. And, there's lots of different things coming out, a lot of talk about data with Facebook, GDPR laws coming into play, obviously data breach laws in Australia came out in February. What's your view on it in the startup community in Australia? Do you think people are prepared, not prepared?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, trust is paramount in the sharing economy. So making sure that consumers' privacy and data is well maintained. And I think that's just a wake-up call for everyone. I think it's paramount to running successful marketplaces. And so I think it's just good for business, really. It's kind of no-brainer. I know there's been a lot of bad press around Facebook in particular. Look, I don't sort of dig into it too deeply, but I guess ultimately, what's good for the consumer is what's, ultimately that's what's going to win at the end of the day, right? Yeah. So you got to look after the customer, look after their data, be transparent with what you're going to do with it. Our model is pretty simple. But obviously we just have to protect their data, of course. Yeah. And
having that culture, I guess, from through not only just the founders and the vision of the company, but also the team, the same values around what they do with the data and how they treat it. How do you ensure a consistent culture across the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just education and awareness and keeping it front of mind. I think most startups do want to do the right thing. Yeah. Of course, there's some that get very large. Maybe when is a startup no longer a startup? Is Facebook still a startup? Yeah. Probably not. But one of the biggest companies in the world now, right? Yeah. But I think it is a wake-up call for everyone in the industry to clean up their act if it isn't already.
Yes, of course. And so what's your team culture like now that you've merged to I'm sure, very individual cultures?
Yeah, we've got an amazing team. Actually, the cultures are not that dissimilar. Great. And I think it's merged very nicely. We've brought on some new team members as well to support the acquisition. Some of our team members work across platforms. Great. And we really focus on that same purpose, which is really to help people monetize that spare space that they have in and around their homes, and to make it easy for people to access that space. Yes. So the culture is, I guess, it's kind of grown organically, I suppose. Yeah. But I think my experience from DealsDirect and also at Spacer is those early hires are really important, and making sure there's a really good fit with the business, the vision, and the team. And that often sets that culture very early on. It's very hard to change it later on. Yes. So if you look at Uber, for example, maybe they didn't start with the best culture initially. Probably look at the first team members.
Are you hinting at something?
I love Uber as a consumer. I think it's a great app. Yeah. But obviously the culture, they're doing a lot of work on today. Yes. They've got an awesome team, really passionate. Yeah.
If any of them are watching. That's awesome. And so then you've put this team together, you've got some big visions, I guess, of what you guys are trying to achieve. What does the next 12 months look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're all running pretty hard. Yes.
And trying to have families at the same time.
Yes, work-life balance is important, so if you can achieve it. Yes. We try. But I guess we're just doubling down on what we're doing right now and really bedding down the acquisition. We've got everything on platform now, which is great. So everything's a lot more streamlined, and we really feel like we're seeing this next sort of wave of growth. Yeah. I guess startups kind of go like this. It's not that linear growth. It's kind of up, maybe down a little bit. But we're on this next wave of growth, we feel like. Right. And I feel like we've got the right team to take us to that next level.
That's great. And measuring all these things is really important, getting your unit economics right, whether you're getting investment or even just to find out why you are plateauing before you can kind of take that next jump. What sort of tools are you guys using to really amplify that or track and amplify?
Google Analytics is a great tool. Excel spreadsheets, they're probably the super tools out there. Right?
Everyone finds what works for them though, right?
Yeah, we've recently hired a data scientist, so we're doing some more smarter stuff now. I don't profess to understand all of it, but luckily a lot of it is very visual. Yes. So it's easy to understand. We're starting to dig a lot deeper into the data. I guess early on it's just like, grow big quickly and
Yeah.
just do whatever you have to do, look after customers, learn from their feedback.
Yeah.
And now it's a bit more like, okay, we've got some real data, let's dig into it.
Understand what's making them tick.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what other startups are you seeing out there that are really, do you think, driving to that next level with how they're approaching, measuring, balancing that supply and demand? Because that is one of the biggest challenges for marketplaces.
Totally. Yeah, well, we're very fortunate to be part of this sharing hub. I know you know.
Do you want to explain where we are?
Yeah, so we're here in the sharing hub in Piedmont. Please come visit any time. Any other
circle around or something. The tour.
We've got about 30 different sharing economy businesses in our group. 5 or 6 of us are co-located here.
Great.
So we do share lots of learnings. We have meetups.
Cute puppies.
Yeah, there are a few around. So we've got Mad Paws, the pet sitting service. We have Car Next Door, peer-to-peer car sharing. Bliss, if you need a massage, which I do. Zoom to You for express parcel delivery. Who else do we have? Camping 5, Caravan Rentals, and a bunch of others.
Yep.
And I guess what we're seeing is those businesses, we're all sort of they're all probably a little bit ahead of Spacer because they're only a couple of years old.
Yeah.
Some of them are 3, 4, 5 years old.
Yeah.
And they're all on these fantastic trajectories.
Yeah.
But I guess the learning from all of them is pretty hard to get off the ground, right?
Yeah.
That chicken and egg piece. And predominantly what we saw is that if it's an asset-based service, supply is the hard piece.
Yeah.
If it's like a task-based service,
Yeah.
demand is the hard piece. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, that shift. Definitely.
So that's been really interesting, and we just all sort of share learnings, and we have good days and bad days, and we kind of lean on each other and support each other.
Yeah. Just go play with a Mad Paws puppy.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorts everything out.
It does, actually. Yeah, definitely.
They always have the cutest part. I don't know why, but anyway, it's cool. And so, what do you think the importance is then of these communities like the Sydney Startup Hub? That's jumped in as now government backed. They've got so many different co-working spaces like this in one building. What do you think the impact of things like this is going to be on the community at large?
I know it's an overused term, but I think this building of a real ecosystem, startup ecosystem, innovation ecosystem.
Yeah.
When does a startup no longer start? But I guess we're all trying to build successful businesses, right? And employ more people and provide opportunities for all. And I think it does help. I think it's certainly creating the energy and the infrastructure, the support systems. These meetups, you can really meet amazing people, founders that share similar issues that you're going through. It can be quite lonely as a founder.
Yep.
Bouncing off other founders is often a great way to fast track your learnings. Hearing aspirational stories from others, whether it's a Canv or an Atlassian or Will from Car Next Door, or people at different levels, stages in their business. I think that's very important.
It is. It's critical.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's really only happened in the last few years here,
Hasn't
right?
it? Yeah, definitely.
10 years ago, no one knew what a startup. It was like very nerdy to be a nerd, That's cool. Right?
Or even like when I started One Shift, that's 2012, so 6 years ago, give or take now. But it's incredible. There was like Fishburners was only just starting in 2012, so there was none of those sort of spaces out there, and so no one really knew what each other were doing, and so it was it's amazing. Just the speed that change has happened as well, and people are really getting behind it, and corporates even getting behind startups and whatnot, and the impact that can have. I mean, even with Qantas, with Mad Paws, that'll be great to see the impact that can have.
A lot of corporate partnerships happening. That's definitely a big trend that we're seeing. Yeah. But I guess also there's a place for people who want to have a career working in startups or starting in startups. Can go to now, whereas before, how did you find a startup to work for?
Exactly, or even trying to attract that kind of talent into your startup. It was the people who were like, "Oh, give this a last shot because I can't get a job anyway," kind of attitude. Whereas now you can really attract some amazing, talented people.
I think it's now a legitimate, bona fide career path. Whereas,
I know, I always forget. I'm like, oh, hopefully it hasn't cut out.
Should have done my hair this morning. I think it's legitimized as a career, whereas maybe 10 years ago it's like, why are you doing
that? Yeah, you're dodgy a little bit,
But and there are different career paths people can take, and maybe they learn working in a startup, and then they go and start their own, or maybe they become more hireable by a corporate because they know about innovation and stuff like that, right?
Buzzword.
But I guess it all helps, right?
Definitely. And mental health is something that's not really discussed that publicly anyway. What are your thoughts? How do you make sure your team going to get this headspace that they need? How do you, as a leader, make sure you get that headspace?
It's super important, right? And I think a lot of it is just being attuned to your team and making sure that there are times where you have to like work pretty hard and burn midnight oil to hit targets, but it's not sustainable to do that every day, right? Yeah. So I know like in the startup world there is this thing of like hack and
badge
hustle.
of honor.
hustle, which I think is great. Yeah. But I think it's got to be balanced, right? And you just got to keep an eye on your team and yourself as a founder, and make sure you're taking time to sort of breathe and sort of work on the business as well as in it. Yeah. And reflect. But one of the things that we've done at Spacer in Parktown is that I personally use Headspace. I think it's one of the best apps to come out ever. So we provide that to our whole team.
That's great.
And if they want to use something else, they prefer something else, we pay for it. Yeah. But we really believe in the team's well-being. Yeah. We keep an eye out to make sure that they're not burning out. Yeah. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. We see it as it's a 10-year journey or potentially longer. It's not like a crash and burn. Yeah. So you've got to look after each other. That's really important. Yeah. And have people that care about each other.
Yeah. That's great. And how do you as a founder as a CEO make sure that you're continually having that personal development so that you can make sure you are looking out for the right hires, make sure you do know the right tools or areas that you guys should be heading to for growth?
A lot of it is collaborating in the space. So, I certainly don't have all the answers. A lot of people around me do. Right? Just tap into that. But yeah, I love learning by doing and learning from others. Yep. I chat to the guys in the sharing hub and what are you guys doing? What's working for you? What's not? We share with them what's working for us, what's not. So that helps a lot. Team members as well. A lot of it is through the network. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know this great person. Or the other way is like we work a lot with the universities, great. So we'll get like new grads or people about to. What do they call it? In the penultimate year?
Whatever it is, yeah.
These buzzwords, I don't know anything.
They're just smart kids. That's the main thing.
Super smart.
Adults.
Super smart. Yeah. And so some of our team have come through some of these programs. There's these innovation programs, like one called Univative, which different universities compete against each other, and they do a project for different businesses. And we were like the only startup that was like big companies like IBM. They were doing like IBM Watson programs, and then they're in little Spacer. But the feedback we got was really positive, and one of our team members, Emma, came through that program.
Wow, that's great.
And she's been fantastic. We've had others as well.
That's fantastic.
So there's lots of different ways that you can find great team members.
Yeah, and for yourself, is there certain resources or podcasts or mentors that you have to make sure that you're continually learning?
Yeah, again, a lot of it is sort of peer mentoring today, I guess. In the early days, when I was a bit younger, had a bit more hair, had sort of like
one less child.
I used to have grey-haired mentors, people who've been there, done it before, and that was really useful. Mm-hmm. I still keep in touch with a lot of them. Yeah. But today I find the market is moving so quickly that you actually need to be in touch with people actually doing it. Yeah. So I think peer mentoring, whether we call it that or not, but that's the name I give it.
Just go for a beer.
Even like us chatting, right? Like, it's good reflection.
Definitely. Yeah.
So a lot of the guys and girls in the sharing hub, we sort of bounce off each other. Mm-hmm. Some of my investors, obviously, are very successful in their own right, and then they provide good guidance. Business partner Roland, I try to go to events from time to time, not all the time, because you can get quite absorbed in it. Yeah. I try to get to the States once a year and learn from sort of what's happening over there.
Just stepping outside of the industry. Yeah. No, that's really important.
And I do like Twitter.
Do you follow Trump's feed?
More just for a laugh. When is Wall Street coming? Hopefully not soon.
This week.
But there's some amazing people to follow on there, like other founders around the world, other VCs, just getting a feel for what's going on. Yep. It's
great. And so I asked everyone this, so apologies for the left of field. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why? Always throws everyone. Will Davies from Car Next Door was that he can slice bread. This is already his superpower. He can slice bread perfectly. And I still can't get over that.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to go and check it out.
Yeah, ask him to slice you some bread.
So one that I want.
Yep.
I do like my sleep. So I feel somewhere I could like freeze the clock and like, instead of getting, I generally get 8 hours. I get 10.
And then nothing changes in your days.
Yeah, I can get those 2 hours back or something like that.
So you wouldn't need a bliss massage
my wife wouldn't scream at me
because you're in bliss.
Because I was still looking after the kids and stuff like that. Yeah. So that'd be cool. Maybe to be able to freeze the clock.
Yeah.
Get that extra.
Even 2 hours.
Yeah,
of course. It's funny, most founders are around getting more time, being able to get there faster or travel, speed of light kind of things, right? So it all comes back to more time. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's the one thing you can't buy, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for today. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to keeping you across what the business is doing.
Cool. Thanks very much, Jen.